بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أسعد الله مساءكم بكل خير السيدات والسادة الإعلاميات والإعلاميين. نشكركم جزيل الشكر على تلبية دعوتنا منظمة أطباء بلا حدود لحضور هذا المؤتمر الصحفي الهام الذي يسلط الضوء على آخر التداعيات الإنسانية والطبية الكارثية في عموم الأراضي الفلسطينية المحتلة بشكل عام وفي قطاع غزة بشكل خاص، والتي لم تبدأ منذ 7 أكتوبر بل منذ أعوام طويلة. أما الآن فقد وصلت الأزمة في غزة إلى أبعاد كارثية، لا سيما مع استمرار الحصار الذي تفرضه الحكومة الإسرائيلية منذ أكثر من 17 عاماً، بما في ذلك منع الغذاء والمياه والوقود والكهرباء، وهو أمر شائن وغير إنساني، بل يمثل هذا الحصار عقاباً جماعياً يحرمه القانون الإنساني الدولي، وبات التحرك على كافة المستويات ضرورة ملحة. اسمحوا لي أيضاً أن أرحب بالدكتور كريستو، وهو الرئيس الدولي لمنظمة أطباء بلا حدود في جنيف، والذي اختتم للتو جولة في الأراضي الفلسطينية المحتلة، وسوف يطلعنا كريستوس بدوره على آخر التحديات التي شهدتها فرق أطباء بلا حدود هناك خلال الأسابيع الماضية. سيكون هناك مساحة مخصصة لطرح الأسئلة على الدكتور كريستوس، ونود التنويه بضرورة التعريف بالمؤسسة الصحفية التي تمثلونها قبل طرح السؤال، ويا حبذا لو يكون هناك سؤال واحد لكل مؤسسة صحفية حتى يتسنى لنا استيعاب أكبر قدر ممكن من هذه الأسئلة. سنتيح المجال أيضا لعمل مقابلات إعلامية خاصة مع الدكتور كريستوس عقب المؤتمر، وبهذا الخصوص يرجى التنسيق مع زميلنا الدكتور محمد شطناوي، وهو مسؤول العلاقات الإعلامية، وهو موجود هنا معنا في القاعة مشكورا. فقط للتنبيه، الدكتور كريستوس سوف يتحدث باللغة الإنجليزية، وقد وفرنا خدمة الترجمة الفورية من العربية إلى الإنجليزية ومن الإنجليزية إلى العربية في حال احتجتم إلى ذلك. والآن بداية مع بيان منظمة أطباء بلا حدود حول الوضع الإنساني في الضفة الغربية وقطاع غزة، يلقيه الدكتور كريستو، وهو الرئيس الدولي لمنظمة أطباء بلا حدود في جنيف. فليتفضل الدكتور كريستوس مشكورا.
Dear guests, dear colleagues, before I start, I would heartily like to thank you for responding to our call in such a short notice. I really appreciate that you gathered in this room and you give me this opportunity to communicate with you what we have been witnessing and experiencing all these last weeks and I would say years in Gaza and West Bank. Because the 7th of October indeed marked a turning point for the civilians, both in Gaza and the occupied West Bank. But this comes after decades of repression in both of the territories. And in Gaza especially, it comes after a blockade which has turned the enclave into an open-air prison. A major spike of violence has taken place also in an already turbulent West Bank. And there has been a significant increase of attacks on Palestinians by Israeli settlers and forces. I have just returned from the West Bank, where violence is sweeping across the whole territory. The Jenin refugee camp has been targeted by incursions by the Israeli army in the past few years. However, a particular flashpoint at the camp is now happening, with more incursions and even drone strikes, as Israeli forces reportedly seek to eliminate militants of armed groups, causing deaths and wounding among the people living there. During these incursions, Israeli forces also hinder the work of our medical teams in the hospital we support in Jenin, and worse, stop people from seeking medical care. During the riots, several hospitals are blocked by the army and ambulances are prevented from collecting the injured people. and from moving around the camp. Ambulances have been shot at when trying to do so in the past weeks. In Gaza, since the start of the military campaign, the Israeli government had enforced a complete siege, denying people trapped in the enclave the necessities for survival: food, water, medical supplies, fuel to run incubators and dialysis machines. There is no justification for this. Denying people those needs are forms of collective punishment, and they are crimes explicitly prohibited under international humanitarian law. Added to this, unyielding restrictions have been put on humanitarian access and are preventing essential aid and supplies in the immense quantities that are required. And this is preventing everyone from reaching the needs. For 7 weeks, we saw simply that the Israeli forces were killing people, children, entire families, and they are doing it wantonly. People trying to escape unpredictable bombardment, trying to find safety in a place where nowhere was safe. And now, over 1.7 million people are displaced, and they are living in the most cramped, chaotic, horrific conditions. This is unimaginable. This is inhumane. Despite Israel's claims, its all-out assault is not being waged just on Hamas. War is being waged on all of Gaza and its people at any cost. Israel is clearly trading the rules of war for its own military doctrine based on disproportionality. A sustained ceasefire is the only way to stop the killing of thousands of more civilians and to allow for the delivery of the so much needed humanitarian aid. The situation today in Gaza, as you all are aware of, is catastrophic. It has gone beyond what we call humanitarian crisis. It is a humanitarian catastrophe. At last count, nearly 3/4 of the hospitals in the Gaza Strip are not functioning. Almost none in northern Gaza are functioning, and systematic attacks have destroyed the healthcare system. This brutal annihilation of an entire population's health system stretches beyond what humanitarian aid can fix. I have to make it very clear, doctors cannot stop bombs. Just over a week ago, two of many MSF colleagues, Dr. Mahmoud Abu Nujalla and Dr. Ahmad Al-Sahar, were brutally killed in a strike on Al-Awda Hospital in northern Gaza. They were doctors caring for wounded patients in one of Gaza's last remaining barely functional hospitals. Seeing doctors killed next to hospital beds is beyond tragic. There is no justification, legal or moral, for the relentless, violent strikes on civilians and the hospitals. Given the pattern of indiscriminate bombing and the evident disregard for human life, we have taken the unusual for MSF stance of calling for a ceasefire. Now is not the time to equivocate. Pauses may be a hopeful start, but we need a sustained ceasefire. We are already witnessing a humanitarian crisis with catastrophic proportions, and it will get worse if this violent onslaught resumes. People in Gaza need a sustained ceasefire now, and it is the only way to stop indiscriminate killings and civilian injuries and allow for the delivery of all this desperately needed humanitarian aid on a meaningful scale. So, MSF today urges countries, governments, members of multilateral organizations, including the League of Arab States and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. We have repeatedly called for the respect of international humanitarian law, and we urge all of them to use their diplomatic leverage to ensure an immediate, sustained ceasefire. The horrors unfolding before our eyes in Gaza and in the West Bank must stop now. Working purposefully to reach a ceasefire is the most effective way to ensure this. I'm here today to make this clear and loud. And I'm here today to engage with you and answering all these questions. But if I could again summarize my messages, is sustained, non-conditional ceasefire. Release the siege. People cannot be collectively punished. and protect the medical care, protect the hospitals and the medical workers from being attacked. We cannot let this happen. Once again, I want to thank you for being here today, and I hope I will be able to respond to all your questions. Shukran.